And we are live. We are a little bit fake and gay, but we are live. Today, I am joined by an ever wonderful guest, an esteemed aesthetic artist from the distant lands of the Great North, from the land of soy and milk itself, Canada, Mr. Gio
Soy and
Pinochet.
honey,
Mr. Gio, how are you doing today, Mr. Gio?
soy and canola oil. There you go. That's because we the Canadian government lobbied the they lobbied the Americans to accept I can't say the RP word, but the canola oil as from an industrial lubricant to a food stuff. So there, that's a little Canadian, that's a little leaf lore. But I'm doing good. Well, not I don't know. It's kind of weird. I feel like there's a weird energy. Usually, like happenings around Trump is usually a weird energy. So it's just serendipitous that we're streaming tonight. You know, after the indictment. So, oh my God, is that? I wonder what Birdman is that. That can't be. That can't be the Birdman. Comments Matthew Perry.
No way, it can't be him. And I'm thinking of somebody else, but
You follow
yes. It's definitely true. It feels very weird, although, like, honestly, it feels like kabuki theater to me.
Yeah.
I'm so elite pilled now that I'm just like, I don't know. It's still fun to watch, and I like the stuff Cringe Walkers are putting out, the AI art of the trial.
He's going insane with that. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. He had the one where Trump is
converting
praying
to Islam.
yeah, he's praying to the Kaaba. He's citing the Hadiths. Trump will be based in Caliph pilled, and in the global Caliph will be insured by Trump. So, but I wonder, is the speech on? Do you have the monitor on, or I wonder?
I have the live stream in the background. I don't see anything yet. I just see MTG in the
Okay,
background.
good. When he comes on, then maybe just tell me and we'll.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, yeah, it's incredible. I think that I agree with you. It is a spectacle. I mean, I don't really think it's for, because here's the thing, they have to know, like, they're not this well, maybe they are this stupid. What am I talking about? It's really just for red meat for like the libs to say that we finally have
we
the
got
perp
Don
walk.
Cheeto.
We got little Donnie Trumpolini. We finally got little Don. We finally got Blumph, and we finally have him in hand. Well, there's no handcuffs. That would be totally humiliating. But I think that what it's not, what I was going to say is that it's not, I think, meant to screw up the election for Trump, because either way, if you cut it down the line, if he is going to run, he's going to win the nomination, hands down. I personally don't think he's going to win the federal election in 2024 again. But point taken is that.
Well, I am glad it's not going to be Meatball Ron. Little
Yeah.
Ron. As much as like the establishment wants the little Ron in there, but it's not going to happen now. Not with this. The establishment base. I'm sorry. The base of the Republican Party loves Trump too much now, and they see this open political persecution, we'll call it, against him, and so they're going to rally around his support. And I believe he's already above like 50 now in the polls. So little Meatball Ron is done. He can continue going on Piers Morgan all he wants, but he's just kind of wasting his time.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to say, is that I think Trump. Oh, good. Sorry, I'm getting text message that Toronto just scored another goal. So they're playing the Blue Jackets, but they're probably. I'm worried about Thursday when they play Boston. But anyways, I think that Trump. It's not going. If anything, it's funny because AA tweeted this. I actually thought of this before AA. I was going to tweet it, but I'm like, I better not in case it goes viral. Where I said, like, it's kind of like how rappers get indicted right before an album drops over like some ridiculous charge, and it only helps their credibility. It's sort of like that with Trump. It's really going to energize the base, and really, it's, if anything, it will help him in the long run. And I think that they probably know this, but it's not the point. The point is really just, it comes down to the base appetitive drive of a humiliation ritual. Because in the long term, by 2024, it probably will help Trump. He'll probably, what he'll go? I mean, I have to censor myself for YouTube, but like, he'll probably go up there and he'll say, look at this. If they can persecute me, then we all know what happened a few years ago in that one event in January. You know what I mean? Like they could probably he'll sell it that way. So they know this. They know this. But it's not the point. The point is that in the short term, which ironically enough is kind of like high time preference on their part, in the short term, it gives the left this, like, it doesn't give, like, I don't think like ordinary leftoids, maybe ordinary leftoids, but it gives certainly like the, no, actually reverse that. The more like esoteric, like Marxoids are not going to be like they don't really care one way or the other. But the average activist class person, and especially the average like normie boomer lib, this is like their, oh, I have to like, we're gonna make a dinner party tonight and watch CNN to see the arraignment. Like that's what's gonna happen. The coastal liberal, what did Michael Savage call them back in the quiche eaters, right? They're the ones that are going to like really lap this up. That finally little Donnie, finally Blum, finally orange Austrian painter man, Tiny Hands, is now in chains. And it's like the whole gloating. You know what's funny is I'm sure Hillary Clinton, if she really wanted to nail it in, she could tweet out like a meme of or one of her interns could tweet out like that, in 2016 Trump said I was going to go to prison, but now it's like he's one of her interns like tweets out a Luthemplar AI edit where Trump is behind bars. Like that could be amazing. Like that would really that would be huge for Hill Dog, you know what I mean? But,
that would be funny, but Hill Dog is too busy. Probably on another nefarious island somewhere.
Yeah,
he's too busy concerned with that type of stuff to be worrying about dunking on a minor political opponent.
Yeah, I mean, she's done though. I don't think she's long for politics. I mean, 2016. I mean, that's why Hillary's so upset. Obviously, is every single day of her life is because Trump really did. Like, he really did snatch it in a way that wasn't expected. It's funny because I was actually talking about this before we went on with my mother. And I said, like, it's funny because that clip was going around on YouTube where it was from the debates where Trump went to, like, do you remember when Trump went and he, like, was up there with Jeb Bush and then he said, like, he called out the crowd and he's like, all these people, he's like, shh, quiet. It's Jeb Bush. And he's like, all these people, they've been planted there. They're Republican donors, but I don't want their money. And that's why they hate me, because I'm going to do this for the American people. And like that, like we can look back on it. It's like, okay, this is like typical, Cole or whatever. But at the time, I remember 2016 listening to that night. I had just gotten off of a grad seminar. And I remember like in my car watching on YouTube, burning up my data, like watching it and then going on Twitter and seeing like the reaction to it. And it was, it truly was magical. And I think that that's why Trump, as much as we see his foibles and his failures, I feel that he did galvanize a moment that was special, not just in American politics, but really the world as a whole. Because Trump led the way for so many populist movements around the world.
And not just that, he led the way for some great memes and some movements we had. We can't name them all, but there were so many great ones. Pepe really got his stride with Donald Trump. We got to say, Trump is the Pepe president. He is. That meme will epitomize him forever. It is.
He really is the best poster. He posted his way into the White House. Like that, just like any innocuous tweet, like Coca-Cola doesn't like me anymore. That's okay. I'll still drink that trash anyways. Like, who would come up with that? Like, it's next level. But I don't know. I feel like I feel that the spectacle with Trump will never cease to entertain, and I think even the anything to do with the man is going to attract attention. Will seem like a state of exception. You know what I mean? I feel like that's even like in his lowest moment, which you could argue getting persecuted over nonsense. By the way, what are these charges over? There's like 34 of them, 37 of them. Do you know, American Populist?
Oh, I know the main one, I think.
At Stormy least. I
haven't read the charges. I don't know if they're out yet, but I know the main was paying hush money from his campaign fund to the porn star Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels, this whore who I paid off. And it was kind of illegal, but Dawn has some needs, so Dawn did it, and that's
Did they
as far
sleep
as I know
together?
about
Is
the
that what it was
situation.
over?
Yes, that's the
Oh,
main thing
okay.
they're going him after for.
He should have settled for Corey Chase. Like, what is he doing? Like you could see that was gonna come from a mile away. I shouldn't talk about it because like every time me and Prude go live, I name drop some porn star, and then someone's like, "Gio, what are you doing? Like you're your secret goomer." I'm like, "No, listen, it's purely like listen. I don't know why I know the names of these porn stars, but anyways, point being is that he could have settled for Corey Chase. He could have settled for." Like, I mean, I probably, maybe, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if Lisa Ann would be out of his pay grade, but I don't know. I know Stormy, like, you could tell that she was going to use this. But Stormy got paid off using 35 separate checks, so 34 charges. Oh, I see. Thank you, Volpe Persona. Did I say Volpe? Yeah, because I think in Italian it's Volpe, but yeah, okay, that's how it works. That makes sense. Why would he need to pay her 34 times? Is that like...
I don't know the legality
That's weird.
behind that. Whatever. I know they take campaign finance law somewhat seriously, but obviously
Yeah.
this is just stupid. When our elites are literally going to a certain person's island with kids, it's like honestly,
Doesn't
I think
matter.
we've got bigger issues with our elites who need to be like honestly having federal indictments against them. But of course, that will never happen.
I think Trump is gonna start his speech soon, so
yes, he is actually.
go to Fox News. You know what? Let's give our support to Fox News. Whatever.
All right, hang on. I'm looking them up right
There you
now.
go. Gio, want to have any more porn star names in my head? Let's see. If he likes the blonde bimbo type, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of them. I don't know. Could Donnie? Could he pull? Oh man, I can't even think of any. I know that Ted Cruz got into it with. What do you do? He liked a post by Corey Chase or something. I forget. I thought like maybe Trump would be more of like a more of an old school like Chrissy Canyon type of. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they're old now, but I'm sure I thought Trump would be more into like the old school porn stars, probably not like. I mean, I guess you could say Stormy Daniels is old school, but not like Stormy Daniels is like a core Gen Xer choice. It's not like little Donnie's brat. Why am I talking about this? You know what? Forget about it. Let's can this topic.
Say,
The FBI and DOJ
hey, let me turn it
relentlessly pursuing Republicans. The unconstitutional
Trump should have go up there and be like,
by not
"That was the most expensive piece of pussy I ever had to pay for."
it wasn't even wet too. I didn't even get my money's worth.
Yeah, I can imagine. She's probably like an ice queen in bed. Because they say porn does ruin your sex life, of course. Your like actual sex life.
It does, but Donnie has a history with women who goes back
I
to
think
his first marriage.
Ivana was pretty hot when she was younger,
according to the pollsters, would have made a 7.
I don't know. I'm not into Melania. I don't really like. I mean, Melania is. I don't know. She's got that model look.
She's got the Slavic look,
Yeah.
which is fine. The Slava bros will like that, but
I think Melania was good when she did those like wholesome posting. I think that's when she really shined. Like when she tweeted like Trump was driving with Barron, and she's like, "My 2 bodyguards." Like you'd see a mother doing that type of stuff,
Russian disinformation.
Hunter Biden's laptop. Let's not forget, folks. Hunter Biden's laptop.
By the FBI.
His dick pics. Were leaked to the press.
No, it wasn't Putler. It wasn't Putler.
Our elections were like those of a third world country.
Bro, I wish he would embrace the dark Trump aesthetics. I wish he would do it.
Beginning with the radical left, George.
It's funny because I did that Twitter space, so like people thought that I was like, it's like no, Elrad created it on Twitter. I didn't do anything. I just hosted the space.
Get President Trump. I'm gonna get him. This is a guy campaign.
You get this fat black guy named Alan Bragg. He's funded by that big financier who's from a certain country who we shall not name, but you know who he is. You know, of course, and he's a DA, a corrupt DA. He's going after me, of course, because I'm into certain women and it's political.
He's resentful of the fact that I bagged a blonde white woman.
He's just upset that he doesn't get any women because he's fat and he goes to McDonald's every day and he gets the number 3 and I get the number 2.
Trump knows like what the number 3 is.
But he does though. He knows the
He
McDonald's
does.
menu better than anyone.
Exactly.
He's the most American president ever.
You know what's funny is that Trump is the only positive, I think, example, well, semi-positive. Do you know that tweet from H.L. Mencken where he said that mention, where he said that the way like the American temperament is, eventually they'll get a president that's exactly like them. And it's Trump is the embodiment of like kitsch Americana. Like, you know, Norman Rockwell couldn't even paint. Like Norman Rockwell would be afraid to paint Donald Trump the way that McNaughton does, because like I'm gonna write in my book actually how Norman Rockwell was like the first like libtarded artist, but you know, in America. But
No, did you see that thing where he went to Ohio, to that town that was affected by that rail disaster?
I'm gonna buy them McDonald's all the yeah, Palestine.
And I'm gonna buy the fire team all of the number 2s, which is my favorite, and I know the menu better than you do. You stupid woman, who works it for $5 every single day, hourly wage, doesn't even know the menu. I know the menu better than you do. It's like you can't get that, with anyone else.
Like he ate steak with ketchup all done. Remember?
Yes. Let's also not forget the 2 scoops of ice cream.
Yeah.
We're not very far away from it, believe it or not.
I wish he would go more into the lawsuit, but
yeah, but I think his lawyers probably told him not to.
Any military that I used to defeat ISIS.
Listen, Don, this DA is gonna prosecute you, but we got the best lawyers on the planet, and the DOJ is gonna come after you. But it's okay because the base loves you, and we're gonna get you out of this, Don.
And they're probably
we're the best lawyers ever that money can buy.
No, but they probably will get him out of it. I can't imagine.
Oh, of course they will.
Yeah, it's like, come on.
He's not going
to. Did he really defeat ISIS? Is that true?
He stopped funding them. Was what happened.
Oh, that's why.
He ended Obama's program that funded ISIS.
That's how he defeated them in 4 weeks instead of 4 years. Like he said, yeah. He just stopped giving them money.
He stopped the Gibbs coming over to ISIS and al-Baghdadi, who got smoked by our dog and special forces, and I cut their money, and now they're irrelevant.
He should have went after Soleimani, though. I feel like, I don't know, he should have made nice with Iran, but that's like a boomer neocon thing he had to give them. He's like
well, you got to understand, there's this attitude within the American elite that just hates Iran
for
their betrayal in the 1970s, because
with the with the revolutionary government, yeah.
Well, yeah, because they threw away a regime that was absolutely loyal to the West, and America in particular, and they installed an absolute, especially a certain country in the Middle East, which America's elite loves, and which is a red line.
I'm actually looking at Ayatollah Khomeini's writings right now. I have his book, Islam and Revolution.
Many months later, all of a sudden they say, I remember Trump making a call. Let's look at that. This fake case was brought only to...
Fake. It's fake, just like the media is fake, It's fake. I'm sorry. Fortified elections.
He said it, though. He's like, this is all fake, yeah.
Then you have a radical left lunatic.
Radical left. I love his accent, by the way. I love it.
Over the boxes hoax. The boxes hoax, as we call it. Just so everyone knows, I come under what's known as the Presidential Records Act, which was designed and approved by Congress long ago just for this reason.
I had the documents for the UFOs, and they didn't like that, so they took them away from me, folks. It's unfair. Political persecution. I had the docs on Hillary Clinton. I had the documents, but they took them away.
Hillary was communicating with the Anunnaki.
Dangerous. and triggering. Can you imagine? This
You
is
said trigger. What a what a boomer.
there
Like,
is no criminality under the presidential.
He still has he still has boomer mentality in him though. Like he's
yeah.
We were
No, like I was saying, like my friend on Twitter, Chud Closed My Eyes, my good friend Content Enjoyer, who has the profile picture of that one fat kid that was calling you an F slur in that PSA, right? The school bullying one. And he had this tweet where he tweeted it was a picture of Michelle's mother and who was it? It was not Michelle, it was Obama's mother. And who was it? Let me look it up. It's a great one. It's a great one.
The FBI's sole request in writing was, could you please put another lock on the door? We immediately complied. It's a lot different.
Oh, where is it? Oh, okay. It's Eva Braun and Obama's grandmother. Obama's grandmother and Eva Braun look similar. And so one of the favorite replies was
everybody was in shock. Nobody had ever
I think it was my friend Ascendant Sleeper that said if I showed this to my parents, they'd believe it. Like the boomer con will like literally believe that
they did it anyway because
like if Trump went up there and said that, did you know that Obama's grandmother was Eva Braun? They'd all believe it. They would like literally like
based.
Yeah, based.
No, that's what you gotta love about the boomer. You know, you gotta hate and love the boomer too. They believe some truths when it's communicated to them, but they still hold the mentality post World War II as a religion, unfortunately, and they can't shake that.
Where the penalty is death.
Death.
Even though it has absolutely nothing to do with openly taking boxes of documents and mostly clothing and other things.
Is that one of the charges they said that he took documents home? Is that one where like Sean Hannity was interviewing him? And
yeah, I believe that was the one over the documents of this house in Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, but I guarantee you, every president since like Eisenhower probably took documents home. Like it's just that when Trump it's a celebration parallax. When Trump does it, it's evil, it's bad, it's corrupt. But it's really just them enforcing the rules that they don't enforce to any other president. Like that's literally all it is. It's incredible.
Sovereign is he who makes the exception, especially with a weaponized FBI.
Yeah, exactly.
Even removed many boxes to Chinatown.
China!
Oh, China! She had to mention China.
I love the way he says China, though.
You know what's funny, though, is that...
And had others stored in
China.
Garage floor where his now very famous Corvette.
No, but like it's funny how he's trying to do like the boomer like China Joe, but the Chinese hate Joe Biden. You know what I mean? Like they despise Joe Biden. They want like they're willing to like restructure the entire geopolitical order of the world because they hate Joe Biden. But like it doesn't matter because like the people that are gonna vote for Trump, they're gonna believe it anyways. So not to say that it's bad or whatever. I'm not like pro-Chinese or whatever, but I'm just saying like the boomer obsession with China is kind of like, you know.
Biden was...
Well, China's the acceptable enemy to have, you know, and Russia, but it's mainly China.
Exactly.
Because all the elites can get behind that, right? Because it's not it's a threat to their interests. They're all aligned on it, and like it's no threat to their power. So they're okay with hating China.
And China has a bunch of compromise on all of them, anyways. When they go over there. And they have the, Asian plus Dave, questionable age, sent to their room. And you know what the Chinese are doing. So.
Although I don't, some people on the right are sympathetic, which I can understand. But
there is.
I go back to that Murdoch episode with the Great Borg, and like what if the Asians took over? Have you seen that episode?
I think I've heard of it. I gotta confess, I'm not a big watcher of Murdoch, but maybe I should.
Okay, watch Clausen's review of it with a couple of our guys. It's really good.
Oh yeah.
But basically, in the episode, the Chinese invade America and they get rid of the gay elite, and it's just Chinese, but because whites are looked up to by Asians, they're actually higher class citizens.
Oh God.
So they all embrace Sino supremacy.
It's
And,
funny. I saw that tweet today that got like so many thousands of likes about like the Chinese. They don't like view like blacks in America as like American. Like they literally don't view African Americans as American. They only view white people as American. Like, oh boy. Whoa. No, but the Chinese, they are like, I mean, it's an interesting case how like there is certain factions of the right wing that like, especially during the last 2 years, like, oh yeah, the Chinese have a superior model. Then you have like the like really out there like schizo, like MAGA communists, like Logo de Atlas. That's like, yeah, the Chinese are the best in the world, and like American, like the Chinese are like the fulfillment of the American Republic or something. I don't know. I think that's what he believes.
We're going to be a real pain in the ass.
pain in the ass.
Pain in the ass. But most boomers actually hate China. You know why? Because basically hating China has replaced their hatred of Japan from when like the World War II generation.
No, and before that, it replaces the Soviet Union.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so because so many boomers grew up with like their parents that were in the war that hated the Japanese, right? So,
well, it's actually a well-known fact that Japanese were far more brutal than any mid-century Germans were. I mean, if you just look up what
ironically,
they did,
yeah.
If you look, if you just look up what Unit 313 was,
it's
I
funny.
mean,
Oh.
And by the way, it's so Chad. What have you ever seen what MacArthur did? Like they knew about this stuff and they were like, "Well, it's okay because Japan is our ally now, so we're just gonna cover it up." But because Germany did it, we're gonna punish Germany.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just so funny. But boomers don't know that. They don't know any of that. What happened with Japan?
It's funny because there's certain anime racists that like also hate the Chinese along with the boomers. So they're like, you know, the Japanese didn't go, like we should just let Japan do whatever they wanted to China. Like I've seen these tweets on the TL. Not that I endorse, but like they'll like post like Chinese soy jacks of getting crushed by machinery or like getting sucked up by an elevator. Because like I guess they're counter signaling like all of like the Haas MAGA communism people that are like China's like heckin' wholesome Chungus third worldism, and therefore like actually no, it's correct when like boomer cons hate the Chinese. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, it's funny.
Yeah, well, the problem is, of course, the establishment wants you to do that for a reason because
that's
you know. Actually, it's funny because the chief of our Air Force wrote a state memo basically saying, in 2 years we're going to go to war with China over Taiwan. Basically, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
So we need to circle the wagons to get people supporting hating China.
You know what's funny though is that like when you tell like a far leftoid, like if you tell like an irony leftist that like no, actually you're just gonna vote for the Democrats, it's basically like kryptonite. It's like Wolfsbane to them. They're like shot, like watch as they recoil, right? But if you like tell like someone like if you try to do the same thing to like someone on the far right, like like literally like an anime Austrian painter fan, and it's like, you know, you're tweeting about, you know, total whatever, you're tweeting about this and that, but it's like you're just gonna vote Republican, you're gonna vote for Trump. They're like, yeah, I'm gonna vote for Trump, I don't care. Like it doesn't have the same effect when you like tell, like there were like post-left people where they would like go around and like tell these like irony leftists, like, listen, you're just gonna vote for the Democrats in 2024. And like it would be a big deal. Be like, what are you talking about? No, I'm a revolutionary communist, I'm a revolutionary socialist, blah, blah, blah. But if you tell like a far right, like literal like neo-Austrian painter, no, you're just gonna vote for Trump in 2024. They're like, yeah, I'm gonna vote for Trump in 2024. Like it doesn't have the same bite, you know what I mean? Like it's because, you know, it's not like a big deal. It's like what's the grand political strategy of all of this like online racism? Oh, you're gonna vote for the Republicans. You know?
Really, you don't understand, bro. We're antagonizing the left because that's
no, but that's what I mean. Like voting for Trump isn't like legitimately antagonizing the left. Like it's like, whereas if you say to like a Bernie bro or like a Marxist in university, like a Marxist professor that votes for the like who's gonna vote for, I don't know, gonna vote for Gavin Newsom in 24, and you like tell that to her, she'll like, she'll be shocked. Like, what are you talking about?
So
I'm like, yeah, you're just going to vote for the Democrats. But it's like a big deal because they have to have this like
now we're
LARP that they're not in power, that the establishment, you know what I mean? Like the whole like underdog mythology.
turning
But whereas like a someone on the far right saying I'm going to vote for Trump, it's no big deal because like Trump unironically,
racist at every
I mean, for all of his flaws, he does like own the libs. He does piss off the libs. So it's like,
He does, however, this also like hurts us because he doesn't like actually fight power.
Yeah,
he
true.
only
I mean, yeah,
so basically what he
obviously.
does is he goes up to a giant like hornet's nest and he goes, I'm gonna stick my twig
That's
up
why
there,
last
you know, my
week we
Trump
delayed
twig,
for a
buy it
month
from
to prevent
TrumpMerch.com.
the
I'm gonna stick it up there in the
$80 a
establishment,
pop.
and then I'm just gonna rattle it in there, and then all right, you guys
See
can
what
just take care of
happens.
that. I'm sure nothing bad will happen, and I'm not gonna fight back at all and like spray them with pesticides.
Yeah, that's
Because
what I mean. Like
that would be unprincipled.
monitoring the situation. I think like a lot of people are pissed off at Trump because like let's face it, when it comes to like the J6 people, like he should have like really fought for them, but then it was an optical. So
Ooh, Alan Bragg's wife. Ooh, we got nailed on the felonies.
I love how that tweet by Stormy Daniels got like what 300,000 likes. That Trump had a small dick or whatever. Like it's just a crooked Hillary. He still says crooked Hillary.
Oh, we did? Oh, I didn't even notice that.
In order to go to work in the DA office.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love like man, I can't like as much as like out of all the terrible things he's done. In fact, out of all the terrible things he didn't do in terms of like what he should have done, I still like can't hate him fully. You know what I mean? Like I still, yeah.
All right, I think we're done with Daddy Keto for a little bit. His speech.
Yeah.
You can go Rob's restaurant if you want to.
I think it's almost over anyways. But no, it's funny like the Chinese thing. Yeah, but anyways, I don't know.
Go back to my point about the Sino files. The people who love China like don't understand like China doesn't like you either.
Yeah.
Oh, going back to what I was saying about the Murdoch episode. So yeah, they're all in the utopia where China's in control and it's based because it's civilized and they're now second-class citizens instead of third-class.
Oh boy.
So they're right up there in the racial hierarchy and the pyramid. And basically the great Winnie the Pooh Borg is like, we need white we need your white cock to make more kid white penis.
Yeah, Asian Chinese women can't get their hands off of white dorky white guys. Yeah, that's hilarious. So then what happens after?
Oh, basically that they're disgusted by the Winnie the Pooh Borg who just poops out Borgs basically.
Oh my God.
And then they're just like, yeah, fuck this, and just start killing everything. Anyway, that's the war of the episode. But
that's amazing. That's incredible. But
it's an interesting thought experiment.
The only Murdoch Murdoch episode I saw like in full, I think, was in the Court of the Optics King. That was a good one. The other one where the one dude gets sick or like it's all over. But then like Lauren Rose comes at the end and now he's jacked again. Like I saw that one, but I don't know. Anyways, I think like, will it be as historic as people think? I don't know. Like I think the jury's out, like literally the jury's out on that. I think that it will be a moment if they do have a full conviction. It will be like not the first president that was charged with something, but it will be like the first. I think like Ulysses Grant was charged for like some ridiculous thing. I think he was charged for jaywalking or something. But it will be significant in term. But then again, you have to divorce, I feel, the real world impact from like this just being a media spectacle. I don't know. Like I feel like everything that Trump does, there is this ambiguity. Like, I mean, he is the first postmodern president. Like there is this ambiguity between what the spectacle is around Trump and the aura that he presents and like Trump, like his real world impact, right? Because you could say that, not to blackpill, but like the libs have gotten pretty much everything they've wanted since Trump was gone. You know what I mean? Like they've gotten pretty much except for like a few victories that Trump had nascent in the background because of the Supreme Court, for the most part, the libs have only accelerated their reach. I mean, the whole thesis that Molebug presented was like absolute garbage. Like a lot of takes from Curtis. The whole take about like how shall I put it? Like if we elect Biden, that's going to calm the left down because we're going to give them what they want, and they're going to be like they're going to go to sleep again. But no, like only Republicans do that. When Republican is office, the Republican base will go to sleep. It won't be like Democrats don't do that. There's always that revolutionary spirit that they have. There's always that march forward. You can never calm them down fully. That's never going to happen. So he was wrong about that. It seems that after Trump, after they've slayed the dragon in 2020, now they're actually going to slay the dragon.
This is just a minor criticism of Lord Molebug. Like, I never understood why we suddenly all became obsessed with this guy, and I feel like certain people in the DR brought him up out of nowhere. I don't know, it just feels kind of AstroTurf to some degree. Like I never even heard of this guy before, and then we're all suddenly talking about him, and he's writing theses like, if you red state Americans just like did some more based plays on Broadway, maybe we elves might like stop like sticking blacks on you. Maybe if you just did that, we might be less shitty on you. But you got to do more based plays. Otherwise, we're not entertained. It's just like I'm sorry if that's like a critique, but
how old are you, American Bobby? So you don't mind me
I'm
asking
20.
Okay. So you're 20 what? 29?
I'm 20. I'm 20.
Okay. No, I don't think that I don't want to age. I don't want to age you. Okay, I don't want to say that like you're a Zoomer and I'm an old head millennial. But I think that it's not that Molebug came out of nowhere. I think that his acceptability came out of nowhere. I think that Molebug was a substantial figure for an older iteration of what I like to term the E-right, which is true. Molebug really did bring a lot of people together in terms of his references to different things. Maybe not himself, like his own ideas, because let's face it, a lot of his ideas are just cool, right? Because he comes from more of an elite class. He goes to endless lengths on every single stream to mention that he comes from an elite pedigree, right? Of a certain whatever. But I do think that Molebug I don't think there's a difference between Molebug and Curtis Yarvin. I think they're always the same person. But in terms of like Curtis Yarvin, the figurehead of like an avant-garde in the right wing that just so happens to be invited on like semi-mainstream news organizations, that I think is probably, I don't want to like go as far as to, because again, I have to choose my words wisely, I wouldn't say it's AstroTurfed, but I do think that there is something to be said about how this guy went from like, you can't be associated with him to all of a sudden he's on the Young Turks and he's like perfectly
on Tucker
acceptable.
Carlson's show.
Yeah. I know people are going after Tucker today, but no, I think that no.
I'm sorry. The bigger issue I have with him is, and there's a couple of people in our sphere who come from blue states, and I understand that, but you gotta understand, like as an American, blue state doesn't inherently have an ego to them over the flyover country, which is understandable. I get it. Being an elite theorist, but like it's still like
Canada's the same. You come from Toronto or
to hear these people, talk. Oh, well, you red staters just don't understand. You classless McDonald's eaters. If you just went to more plays, and if you understood the opera, if you just a shard's simply number 5.
If you took mushrooms at Burning Man, you'd understand. Like that's literally what Molebug.
It's just like they talk to us like we're 5. I don't like that the ego they have, especially considering the physiognomy. But that's another conversation.
Yeah. No, but I think that I wouldn't go so far as to say that is Molebug AstroTurf. I think that maybe Molebug in recent years, not like how
I just mean it's like conscious. I don't think he's AstroTurf. I just mean like.
No, he's presented as like a very he's presented as a very safe purview into like the DR to like media figures. I think like that's they realized that I think like certain media figures realized along the way they're like, oh yeah, Curtis is probably one of us. So he's not like those other like chuds that are in the dissident right. I think that's probably what the equation of like Molebug can actually talk to us. You know what I mean? So therefore, we're going to like turn off the like tracker and anti-you-know-what accounts that like harass him and say that he's an Austrian painter fan. And we're gonna like play up the fact that Molebug is like mildly acceptable dissident, right? I feel like that equation probably did happen somewhere along the line in terms of like official media channels. But I don't want to like, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to bash him too. I mean, I don't know. It's funny. I go from I don't want to bash him too hard to like he says things and does things that absolutely piss me off. So I'm like,
I have no attachment to him, so I really don't
yeah,
care.
me neither.
I don't think he's a
I-
bad
yeah.
person, but like we've got some issues.
I'm a bigger
you know.
fan of Nick Land, not Molebug, but
Yes.
I'm an eternal Land stan, so that's if I had to pick the two, obviously I'm gonna pick Papa Land. So I don't know. I mean, even the Tucker thing, I don't know what to make of it. I mean, Tucker was never going to be fully like quote unquote our guy. I just think that how should I say it? Because there's friends of mine who criticize Tucker. I can't. I think that it might be on. I get the argument of like because like that clip is abysmal. The clip going around about Tucker. I get it. It is terrible. Like what he said is like very tone
That is
deaf.
elite opinion, though.
Yeah, it is elite opinion, right? But I think that to like viciously go after him and say that we disavow Tucker Carlson, unfortunately, like given like I want to say that he's the best you're gonna get, but like I mean, realistically, in this environment, he probably is like the best we're gonna get. So
no, this is what the right has this
yeah.
problem where either they'll like have the battered spouse mentality of
Yeah.
oh well,
Yeah.
sorry, Beyonce said this one base thing about the vaccine, so we're gonna forgive like every sacrificing children and everything.
Well,
like,
J.K. Rowling is the best example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but she said this one thing that triggered the libs. So she's actually on the right now, and so you have
Yeah.
those people on the right who will just like accept anybody because they're so.
Do you remember when
beaten by the
J.K. Rowling
left.
was a libtard? Like,
Yes.
yeah.
And now
Yeah.
she's on the right, quote unquote. Or you'll have people who are
She's
like
a base turf.
you have those
Base
people who agree with you on 90% of the issues, but they say that one thing, like your bat figures, they'll have this one area of disagreement, and then suddenly we got attacked and we got disavow them.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you got no friends here in the elite, and like you're a tiny minority, and like they want to come kill you and make your kids trans. So it's like we need as many friends as we can. That was my mindset here. We
Yeah.
this isn't like the 1950s where there's millions of people here who are at
Probably
least
have the same
convincible.
beliefs as you do, yeah.
We don't live in that time frame anymore. We're a tiny minority surrounded by a hostile majority. So you need to think like that because you are a minority.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I feel like, and Tucker is like the biggest platform. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. I get the criticism, but at the same time, it's like you have to realize that you can't expect like a big like Fox News guy to like start, like being like
quote the 14 words.
Yeah, you're not gonna expect him to like be like a Telegram channel aficionado. Like you're not gonna expect him to like go and start Steve Saylor posting. I mean, although Tucker gets pretty close to Steve Saylor posting.
His interns will though. That's how you get.
Definitely, yeah. But no, I think that. I mean, it is. But at the same time, to give to people that are criticizing Tucker right now, to like give them, it is very disappointing, obviously, that Tucker is like going up there with like these goober, like boomer com points. It's like, then it's like, what's the difference between you and Sean Hannity? You know what I mean? So I'm on the fence when it comes to Tucker. I think that Tucker, at the end of the day, probably does more good than harm. But at the same time, if he is going to be like a turbo gatekeeper, basically, I think every time this happens is when Tucker is outside of the studio and he's doing an interview with somebody else and he has to think on his feet. He's much better as a writer or being presented a well thought out presentation by his interns than Tucker like on a podcast saying like these boomer con points about like race or whatever. I feel like if Tucker is outside of the setting of his studio, then You know what I mean? Like he says these gaffes that are just like incoherent with like what people. First of all, it's not going to get him anywhere because like most of the political left think he's an Austrian painter fan, anyways.
They want
Yeah,
to kill him
exactly,
anyway.
exactly. Salmon fish. Yeah, exactly. Don't
Yeah,
let
this is a good
perfection be the
point.
enemy of good. Yeah. No, but like I just don't understand because most of like Tucker's, like most people on the left, they think Tucker's an Austrian painter anyways, and he like that whole Daily Dot article about his intern, like liking Lomez and Steve Saylor tweets. They're like, these are dangerous neo-Austrian painter fascists, and it's like, you know, that's. I remember the guy that used to follow me, the one intern for Tucker, Hamster, I think his name was. Yeah, we were mutuals, and then he got doxxed, and then he had to leave. But you know, it's like people like. I don't know. I shouldn't talk about this because I respect people on both sides of this issue. But I just think that if like Tucker has to realize who hates him and who loves him. I think that's the problem. He doesn't really know who his friends or his enemies are. Because the people that hate him, they think he's a white nationalist regardless. So it's like I understand, like I mean, here's the thing. I agree that you shouldn't go out there and be like, well, you think I'm evil anyway, so I'm going to become like a cartoonish, like kayfabe heel, you know, to use wrestling
I'm
terminology.
gonna go wear the Boston Hugo outfit to own the noobs and embrace
exactly,
it.
Yeah. But at the same time, I feel like you shouldn't be as conscientious of like the purity of your message by saying that they're going to think that anyways. Like I think Tucker should be like, you know what? Like he was very close to it in certain years. He was very close to talking about like more explicitly like racial issues. But at the same time, I mean, I just it's a blow because I don't think Fox News has much of a control over him when he's doing another person's podcast as opposed to his show. So I understand like people that are freaking out saying Tucker's not our guy because Tucker was not like directly controlled by on high by going on a podcast by the Fox News broadcasters. I think that Tucker generally does believe in like this.
That actually is true. I heard that
con.
somewhere that like he takes
Yeah.
less money to have more control of his show. I did hear that from somewhere. I forgot
Yeah,
where I heard it from.
yeah, you should be paid the highest. I think Sean Hannity's probably paid the highest on Fox.
Of course,
Or-
Sean is because
yeah.
you know him and Lindsey Graham. Let's not even get into that. But
Yeah,
yeah.
because Bill O'Reilly had to retire, was forced into retirement because of Stormy Daniels type of incident with an intern. But you know, it's like, oh my god, no. But you know what I mean. Like I feel like Tucker, like they still like people still like wed the dots between like, oh, Tucker's a fan of like the Austrian painter because he did the End of Men documentary that had people like Raw Egg Nationalist on, and Raw Egg Nationalist published by Antelope Hill. And Antelope Hill, as we know, is an evil Austrian painter, pro-Austrian painter publication.
Mid-century Germans.
Yeah, mid-century Germans. Ergo, Tucker is a fan of the mid-century Germans. So yeah, it's like you can make all sorts of connections to that just by virtue of being on the political right. You're eventually going to bump up against this type of stuff, and it's impossible to avoid. I mean, you know what I mean. So I don't know. I'm still irresolved about the Tucker issue, but I do think that both sides have an argument. I just don't think that for now it would be that useful to like totally burn Tucker Carlson.
No, that would not be a great move, especially because he's the only person actually red pilling normies anywhere close to where they need to be on Fox News. And trust me, my boomer grandmother, who watches Fox News all the time, loves Tucker, and that's the only person she gets base talking points from. We got to remember that a lot of these base boomers, their only source of information that's actually good is Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Because they'll like watch Hannity, they'll watch The Wall Banger, and they'll watch like I don't know. They watch The Five, I guess. What do boomers watch on Fox? They watch The Five.
I guess I haven't watched Fox News in like a year or 2 years. But,
You're a Zoomer. So how old's your grandmother?
She's like in her 70s or 80s.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Your parents are Gen Xers, though.
Yes. Okay. My grandparents were boomers, literally.
Okay. The older boomers. Yeah, my parents are younger boomers. But yeah. So, will TV die after the Zoomers? Maybe. No, I think that the model of TV will be different. Obviously, TV as a model is dying, but at the same time, TV, like syndicated broadcasting, will probably be a lot longer. Will probably be around a lot longer than people think. Maybe, I'm guessing. It will be basically. I mean, it will be crowded up by
Sports
streaming
ball will probably
services.
keep it alive. If we're being honest. Sports ball.
Sports ball and certain, maybe not the news, because will the news keep, maybe, because no, but then if boomers don't watch the news, then they're just going to go to streaming services. So
Yeah, millennials and Gen Xers and Z can get their Pravda from Netflix or whatever. They don't even need the new shows. They got their own Pravdas everywhere.
they have, exactly. What is Zoomer like? What news does Zoomers like besides TikTok videos and Twitter? What news does?
It's abysmal.
Oh man.
So Gen Z. I could go on a rant about this, but
yeah, go ahead. What does Gen Z consume in terms of news? Like, how do they get their news?
TikTok.
Listicles? No, that's millennial. Listicles are millennials.
No. Wait, you gotta lower your expectations way more than that. Most Zoomers don't even read. They're illiterate functionally. So they get their sources of information from TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat.
Oh God.
That I would say that's 80 or 90% of their sources.
So they're looking at Dash Dobrik doing big news. That's
yes.
Or those those weird those videos from, no, I know they're mostly on Facebook, the Now This videos. I guess they're on TikTok too, Now This, but oh god.
No, Gen Z is basically the social media generation, although some of us did escape that because we grew up in an era before the iPhone, so I am grateful for that, but a lot of us did not escape that, and now they're basically slaves to social media, which is quite sad. But Gen Alpha is even worse because they don't even know a time before the iPhone and social media. They don't have any social interaction at all. So they're just purely the hyper real
online beings.
That's all they know, and that's scary. Because what's coming next is basically Pravda VR. That's the next step.
That is the next step.
Which is even worse.
Instagram stories, that's how they get their news. Thank you, Jorge. No, but that's what I mean. It is sports ball moved to streaming through? Yeah, that's right. Actually, even WWE moves to streaming, the WWE network.
But Zoomers don't really watch sports. They watch Call of Duty and
Let's Plays.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
They watch.
They're not very imaginative.
No,
we're not an imaginative generation at all, and we're the least social. Besides Alpha, which I like. Alpha, I don't even know anybody from Alpha, so I can't even tell you the situation there. But from here,
what music do Zoomers listen to? They still listen to SoundCloud rap. I heard they're listening to stuff stuff that I grew up on in the early 2000s. Zoomers are listening to Breaking Benjamin now. That's I don't know. My friend Turkey Tom does,
because we really don't have a culture yet, so we haven't really been defined by anything.
Still listen,
but it's pretty much just early 2000s garbage pop music. That's our culture basically.
Oh my god!
So it's basically Taylor Swift and Hannah Montana type music. That is the yes. No. It's not a joke. That is the music that.
No, but what do the guys listen to? Imagine they listen to SoundCloud.
That's what they listen to.
What?
A lot of them, yeah, because that's what they grew up on. Because again, the dad wasn't in the house for most of us. 80%. So we were raised by the mom.
Is metal dead for Zoomers? Do Zoomers listen to metal anymore?
No, I don't know.
What?
Besides Ace, I don't know any Zoomers who listen to metal or rock really.
Oh my god, the guitar is gonna disappear. That's crazy. I'm lucky to be super based. If you grew up on AA Millennial O's and Radlib, I don't know what to say to you, bro. It's
no, thank God we have them though, because
thank God we do have them. Yeah. I mean, hey,
Zoomers need a good example of what actual leadership looks like and being an adult, because the examples of adults we have are basically adulters who say things like, "I love adulting, going to the grocery store." That's the
such
type
a
of leadership
thing.
A Gen X type version of that, which is more cynical. But it's more you just need to go find yourself, and maybe if you just explored yourself, you'll find your way. We're not gonna punish you for anything, just do what you want. And we're gonna helicopter parent you and everything. So yeah, Gen Z is one of the most fucked up generations.
What is Gen X parenting like towards Gen Z? Are they helicopter parents, or they're more are Gen Z latchkey kids? What is parenting like for Gen Z?
Oh, it's definitely helicopter.
Oh,
100%, 100% helicopter parenting. Early 2000s suburbs. Yes, 100%. Although some people were latchkey, and those people got mentally ill. It's so funny. My generation, I feel like I was the first person to notice this though, but like when I was going to like high school and middle school, these people started to just show up, like these spurgs, like these freaks. I hate to use that term, and they would like. I remember this one kid. We used to bully him because that was back when bullies existed. I know, I remember that.
Yeah,
It was a good
yeah.
time.
It was a good time.
And we would bully him about
This
because he was
video
afraid
that
of
came up
clouds. He was afraid of
What?
clouds. I'm not joking when I say that. This is the type
I
of
think that's a
parenting.
legit phobia, though. That is a legit phobia. Some people
Yes,
are afraid of clouds. Yeah.
And basically, he like screamed and like flipped his desk and stormed out. But like, that's the type of people that are being produced in my generation. So it's pretty abysmal. So people,
Oh
when
my
people say
God.
Gen Z is in terrible shape, they are 100% right.
What happened to the parents? Where were the parents? Where did they go?
They were raised by
Oh my God.
boomers. Is the problem. They
Oh
were raised
my
by terrible parents.
God. Can you imagine like being a young Zoomer and your mom does OnlyFans or something like that? Like that's like
I bet Gen Alpha. That's the new thing with Gen Alpha. It's even worse.
Yeah.
But that's the new norm for Gen Alpha.
Can
Actually.
you imagine
Wow.
like your friends pulling up their smartphone and like seeing your mom like getting cream pied on video? Like that's oh my God. That's
I bet
Gio
that's
Bingo, by
happening,
the way.
though.
It is happening. It's funny, we mentioned him, we summoned him. Ace is in the chat. Zoomers listening to Dream Pop make Zoomers more social. That's crazy. But Ace, listen, do Zoomers still listen to metal or no? Or is like the Zoomer metal consumption is 0? But yeah, anyways, I for those of you the Geo Bingo, I mentioned cream pies. So there you go. That's another square in the Geo Bingo. But anyways, man, that's terrible. That's abysmal. Like I thought us millennials were terrible.
No, Gen Z has it way worse because at least you had some sensible parenting, but like we just got Gen X. So we just got the worst of the worst and millennials.
Can you imagine?
So it was
like,
the worst
it's like
possible.
It's like your mom was like smoking weed and listening to Pearl Jam in 1996. And like now she's got to raise you. Oh man, that's brutal. That's brutal. Oh, you're in terrible hands as a generation. I hate to say it, like you're in terrible hands. Like, oh man.
Yeah, that's why we're. No, let me just explain the stats on Gen Z. So, like, I forgot the number, but it's like 40% of Gen Z can't drive. That's a fact. They can't drive. They don't own a house. Most Gen Z like don't even have friends.
American Populist, is your mom near you right now?
She's not in my apartment, no, but she is near me. Yes.
Oh, go ask her. Go ask her if she listened to Pearl Jam in 1996.
I will go ask her that question. I'm sure the answer is yes, but
90% yes. I know it's going to be yes. That's amazing.
No, Zoomers don't believe anything. All they believe in is nihilism. And
but I heard
consumerism.
But I heard from like smarter Zoomers that it's not that they are nihilistic, just they know that things don't matter. But again, is there a functional difference between knowing that things don't constitute meaning the way they once did and nihilism? Is there a difference between the two? It's like,
I don't.
You know what I mean?
The distinctions are mute, in my opinion. The outcome is still the same.
Yeah, exactly. The outcome is still the same. Exactly. So, I thought that a lot of millennials are fail sons. I mean, you could argue that I'm a fail son, whatever. But I think that
well, you still grew up in a successful social order, though, is the thing.
Yeah,
like, we only grew up in a failing social order.
True.
All we know is decline. This is what I like to say. That's why we're not brainwashed, essentially.
Yeah.
We don't have the delusions of what, the boomers
millennials.
had.
Millennials were like, we had tons of delusions growing up because of our boomer parents. We had tons of like, we were going to like make it the way that our parents did. And that never happened. I mean, our Gen X older siblings and older cousins and relatives did, but we didn't. So I think there is like a huge generational difference there. But yeah, see, even Ace said it's the same. So
yeah, exactly. We're the worst generation. I'm going to say that. I'm lucky I got out of that because my grandfather actually read books to me. And I'm not going to lie, that actually probably helped saved me from that fate. Most Zoomers, however, 80% of them are basically essentially, yeah, they're the Troon types are heading
Well,
in that direction.
they're the soft, yeah, the soft. What's the term for it?
Androgyny,
Yeah, no,
androgynous.
androgyny, but they have a term. They have a term for it. Where it's like, what do they call it? Soft, tender queer.
Yeah, tenderqueer. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, guys so weak you could like shatter their jaw with one with one punch.
That's not
I
wrong.
probably
But,
could fight Zoomers. I could fight Ace. I bet I could fight Ace in the chat. No, but I mean, like it's funny though. I see. You know what's funny is that whenever I drive to my old university, I see that the men are more. It's true. I'm not just like boomer posting right now, but the men are more effeminized, and the women definitely look more developed at a younger age, which is not good. But I do notice that they are a bit heavier than girls growing up as like millennial.
all I see is
women.
I'm pleased to say this is weird. All I see is land whales around me. I see all these
Really?
fat like white women. I believe me,
I
there
can't
are
believe there's
some.
more fat white women than ever. But where's GIO's Zoomer top Sadie? You know what I mean? Like it's never mind. Never mind.
I'll tell you where at the end of the stream, private. But believe me, I'll give you some locations. But yeah, don't even get me started about Gen Z women. That's just like a rabbit hole of despair for how like they're all like whores, new Instagram models, basically.
Oh
Like,
my god.
basically, yeah, like whoever will fly me out to Dubai and like Andrew, whoever it is, that is the Gen Z women, basically.
The ones that
I
do
just-
look good, they get flown out
Yes.
to Dubai. But the sort of the mildly fat ones, they're on OnlyFans.
The McDonald's enjoyers,
Yeah.
there's just a lot of them, and like they basically become the feminist like lesbian types, and that's all
see,
they're
it's a different.
for.
You know what's funny? I have a friend. She's an anon on Twitter. She's a Zoomer. And listen, before you say anything, she's just a friend, and there's nothing between us. And she looks at me like I'm an older brother. Okay, I'm not like, please don't cancel me because she's a good Christian girl. Okay, but she was explaining to me once. She said like it's not that they're like predisposed to lesbianism as a biological fact. She said that it's basically they're threatened by any form of male sexuality, and the lesbianism is a way to justify only hanging around with women and only being like comfortable around other women. And so they say that they're lesbians because it like gives them diversity points, but also they can't like deal with like a real quote unquote man. You know what I mean? So I mean, I'm sure like my friend Ellie explained it differently, but like in essence, it's a way to escape the imposing nature of the masculine. So yeah, exactly. The Lana Del Rey pipeline. Exactly. Romans for Lana cells. But no, you know what's funny is that McDonald's probably isn't that bad for you compared to. No, I'm not going to go down this road. Not going to go down that road. I haven't had McDonald's in a long time. I had the new. They have the chicken. What's it called? The chicken Big Mac. It was all right, you know. And it's only a Canadian thing, but
I stopped eating McDonald's because there was hair in my burgers.
Oh God, I got sick from McDonald's once. This was before the pandemic. I had actually a worse sickness before the pandemic, before I got the Chinese lung herpes. But no, the point being is that yeah, so a lot of young Zoomer women, I'm guessing
there's basically two types of them. They either become the
why are
Instagram
they lesbians?
models.
You think? Why do they become lesbians? Like why is that a thing? Or they become trans, like they say that they're MB girls or whatever.
Because it gets them social status, and it gets them points from the regime. They get rewarded basically with more social cues, more social attention. All the weak men basically who are on the left side of the spectrum all come out to sympathize for them. And that females love the male attention. So I would say that plays a large part into as to why.
But they're threatened by male attention, so therefore camming is
no. These are the weak men, though. The
yeah.
And that's what they like, though. They like the weak men orbiters who they can pluck in and out whenever they're in the mood for it, so to speak.
Oh God. Will they ever like have kids and like get married
No,
or no?
no.
Oh my god, maybe they'll have an
Because here's the sad
illegitimate
thing though.
kid.
Even the good-looking ones, at least the normal ones, we'll say who aren't like go to McDonald's like at like 5 times a week.
Yeah.
They're basically brainwashed into like the climate change stuff and like basically
Oh, so they're antinatalism,
basically
pop
yes.
antinatalism. Yeah.
There's too many kids and I don't want to bring a kid into this world and basically I'm gonna become a mom pup, mom dog, type
Dog
stuff.
mom.
Yeah. It's
That's
just such a waste.
terrible.
It's such a waste of their potential. But they're weeding themselves out of the gene pool, basically.
Holy crap. And that's like the best example, the best phenotype out of them probably is weeding their way out of the gene pool. I know it's Ace. Can you set me up with a chubby Zoomer girl, top Sadie? I wonder if Ace, do you know a cute chubby Zoomer top Sadie, a cherub, Rubenesque woman, like a Rubens painting? Do you know that, Ace? Send her my way. Anyways, no, but I'm fascinated to talk to Zoomers. I feel because a lot of Zoomers are in me and Prude's audience. So I always like enjoy picking their brains on these issues. But that does seem tragic. So I mean, I know that like as a millennial, you have to be aware of the fact that because you're older, that you're like looking down a younger person. But at the same time, I feel like it's probably apt to say that there's serious problems with the Zoomers.
Social revolution doesn't stop, whenever you fantasize it did.
Yeah. I mean, what?
And a lot of these like Gen Xers are like, well, you could just get a job from college. That's what I did. And I'm like, it's 2023. Do you not understand like reality? Like BlackRock is buying every single house in America. You're gonna become a renter. They don't understand this stuff. Like, it's like BlackRock just bought like 50 houses near me or something. Like, they're buying up everything. It's like you're not gonna own a house. You're not gonna start a family.
Become a human battery. Yeah,
you're gonna basically rent for the rest of your life. It's like they don't understand like how bad it is. They don't understand the meme. You don't know how bad it is. Truly.
Yeah, I guess that's why their music isn't that like Ace. Do they still listen to 100 Gex? Is that their thing? I listened to 100 Gex song and I'm like, what is this? This isn't for me. I don't know.
All right, but let me get into some topics this week. Let's keep getting off track talking about Zoomers. We do circle back to that topic later, but let's talk about trad aesthetics for a minute because this is the big thing on the right, especially the E-right on Twitter.
I'm just
or the people who love
my mind is
posting
polluted by
aesthetics.
chubby Zoomer women.
Mhm.
My mind is polluted.
Anyways, we gotta get you
ahead.
a girlfriend. But, yeah, you got these trad posters, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but all they focus on is aesthetics and like.
What's your excuse? That's the best ones. What's your excuse? It's like, I'm like, yeah, I wonder why we can't carve like rodent anymore.
And listen, no, I get why they post the aesthetics because this is what you have around us. You got this ugly, like I don't even know what this is. Like basically,
it's not
like
too bad.
A dildo museum or whatever it is. A boot. It's like you got these glass office towers. It's like this is what you got around you to remind you of anything beautiful. It's like, well, no wonder you want to go back to your trad aesthetic, which I understand, but I feel like there is something like shallow about that though.
That office tower is like objectively more uglier than the first building. Go back to the first one.
All right, let's go back to this one.
That's not too, like I understand it's an eyesore, but it's not too bad. I mean, it's got like okay. I admire the ambitious design, apart from like utilitarian nightmare, like new modern, new international style building. But no, I mean, I understand why people don't like this. But in a way, I mean, I don't know. It's all right. It's decent. It's kind of ambitious, It's got a flair to it. But I can understand why people would hate it. It depends on the location too. I mean, it's next to like brutalist apartment blocks, so it's not like a total eyesore. Like there was this one in Denmark that I believe.
This is probably in Europe, if I had to guess, just judging by the comic blocks down there. It's probably in like Romania or something, some shit.
Yeah. But it's next to like those Soviet brutalist apartment blocks, so it's not too bad. Whereas like if it's next to a city that's been developed like since the Baroque period, then that's like there are some examples that are just like total eyesores in the city that shouldn't exist. But this one,
it's like that skyscraper in like Paris that just ruins the skyline.
Yeah, yeah, or the dildo in London.
Well, London's like a gay city anyway, so it's like there's no
Yeah.
loss there at this point.
Yeah, Paris I wouldn't say is gay so much as it's been colonized, but not colonized, but like I mean,
Well, I would
did
say
you
it's
see
literally
the-
colonized.
Yeah, but did you see the recent controversy? Well, I mean, one of the recent ones with BAP where he said that I get his point though. It's not like actual conquest, but because you're inviting them in, like governments, like globalist governments are like inviting them in. But at the same time, it is by any definition a conquest. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence when it comes to that debate. But yeah, I would say that I mean there is certain like G slur elements of Paris, but I do think that it's a shame the way like looking at modern Paris, looking at the streets, it's just it's abysmal, man. Like the China syndrome thing is real. You know the China syndrome thing. Speaking of China,
I've heard the name. Can you remind me what that is, though?
China syndrome is China syndrome is when like okay for many years, even since the days of Mao, the Chinese have always for some reason appreciated French art and culture and aesthetics and architecture. So I mean some of the greatest sinologists that have ever been have come from France and French academia, and there's a lot of French academics that actually know Cantonese and Mandarin. So a lot of like a huge percent of tourists that go to Paris every single year come from China. And when they go to there, they can't believe that they like see migrants and filth and like tent cities on the streets
And diversity.
and yeah, they're floored by it. They actually get depressed over it. They're like, why did the French do this to their own city? Yeah, and so that's why they call it the China sickness. Is basically like Chinese tourists will go to Paris, they'll absolutely be black pilled, and it's like a nuclear black pill for them to see France, like the modern state of Paris, the way it is.
Well, it's actually funny though because France is the most visited country on earth. I would think it's the U.S.,
Yeah.
but actually we're like second place. It's still France.
Yeah,
That's mostly because of all the Chinamen, though. The billions of Chinamen who just come
yeah, it's
in.
because of all the other European countries and because of the Chinese. Like unironically, the Chinese, I think, make up like such a huge percentage of Parisian tourism. Like it's fascinating.
They like
but
Eiffel Tower.
yeah, they've always had a history of appreciating like French architecture, French furniture, French design. Yeah, they're really souped up on Parisian design. But yeah, I mean it is sad. But anyways, you were gonna make a point with these buildings here.
Yeah, I said there's a good, decent reason for why there's a reaction with based original, like 18th century or like 17th century aesthetics. But what do you think is the problem with that? Why do you think it's like hollow though? Like even though it looks great on the outside, why do you think it's hollow? What do you think's wrong with the people, the aesthetic basically appreciators? What do you think's wrong with that? Since you are the artist expert here.
I don't know if I'm an expert, but what is the best pussy king salmon fish? Chinese or French? No, I don't know. I mean, French women are crazy though. Maybe, but I don't like see. I'm biased because like Quebecois women are crazy. My God, they'll ruin you. But I don't know about French women, like Parisian women. But I don't know. Like I mean, they're like it used to be that French Canadian women were rougher, and they're all right though. They do look beautiful, French Canadian women. Just they're dangerous. Gotta stay away. But anyways, moving on. I think that like I've had this critique before. Like I actually talked about this with Trad Western Art about like what he does is different. Like he's willing to like post like more risque things. He's willing to like go out there and like not do the typical trad larp thing. But I do think like a lot of these accounts, they always like when you see it, like they'll have like you've never seen them before, but they have 100,000 followers and they're always selling a program which teaches you Machiavelli or whatever. And it's like they post like the bait of like like not just return to tradition, but it's like it's return to tradition. It's like 23 years old Michelangelo did this. How come you're not doing this? Or what's another stupid thing that they'll post? They'll post like a Jackson Pollock next to a Peter Paul Rubens or next to like a Holbein painting or what, like, no, not there. That's like Holbein's like too sophisticated for them. It's just like, it's just trad bait at the end of the day. I feel like it becomes kitschified in the sense of you're taking the art and aesthetics of the past and you are using them in service of like a largely banal conservative political agenda. And also there's an element of fetishism to it as well, let's face it. But at the end of the day, you're not like really there are some who may understand the environment and the cultural context of like how these artworks were produced and why they were made, but a lot of them, they have a very like surface level picture of beauty. And I know that there are some instant like there are reasons why we code certain things as beautiful and certain things as worthy of worship. But at the same time, without the understanding of that, it just devolves into like I'm just posting a picture of like something that's aesthetic. And like this is traditional because it has like
It's got
it
Greek
has like
columns on it, bro.
yeah, it's got Greek columns on it. So therefore it's like low effort. Like this is like you in a way, another thing too that I don't get is like it does become a form of demoralization because it's saying that you're never going to like reach the greatness of this thing, ergo it's like don't even try. um you live in like you live in clown world, and just like just like you have like this great art and this great history, and like that's the thing, you have to like study. Like a lot of the trads, the more sophisticated trads are right. Like you have to like really examine the like why like Europeans were attracted to certain standards in art and beauty and aesthetics, and why we have certain design choices and where they come from. But I feel like if you don't have that understanding and you're just left with an instinctual pleasure that you derive, then the pleasure is not sophisticated. It just becomes um this like kitschy type of like second order pleasure where you're just saying like this is beautiful, and it's like we can never compete with this, and it's like who cares. And like let me just like look at more of this over and over again. I notice like a lot of things that are current right now is a lot of like edits from the 1980s where it's like gun girls from the 1980s. It's like beach photos from the 80s. It's like I understand like the 80s vaporwave aesthetic. I understand why that appeals to the political right, because it is unabashedly like masculine, and like the women were thin and pretty, and they didn't like they weren't like people weren't poisoned by the seed oils. I get it.
They
People
were
were
wearing
not
pussy
poisoned.
hats, in other words.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I feel like but then the problem is that are you telling like are aesthetic posters telling people to like say look and like seriously study and look at the reason why our people produce this thing, or certain people like not always our people, because like let's face it, a lot of these people are Americans, and they're not like I mean they're not exactly who come from Italy or whatever, Italy or France or but anyways, that's besides the point. The point being is that Europeans as a whole, like I understand, like, are you saying like study this with caution and study this thoroughly and understand like why this came about? Or are they just saying like buy my program and like here's another pretty picture among like millions upon millions of pretty pictures? Because that's what the internet has really reduced everything to, is aesthetic posting. So it's like, you've seen a pretty building, but do you understand the meaning behind that building? And then furthermore, is there something in which not necessarily we can improve? Because in some ways, you're never going to be able to improve on, like, for example, what the Greeks and Romans did. But at the same time, you have to say that, I mean, our ancestors didn't want us to be demoralized. I mean, obviously, there's always a way in which you can approach the past and the art and aesthetics of the past that can give you inspiration for something else that speaks to our unique time period. But I don't feel that a lot of aesthetic posters um, do that. I feel like they just basically give you like a daily choice of aesthetic images that you can't separate from one another. Besides, this looks trad. This has like Roman columns. This looks Lindy. So, yes, I am anti-Sneed oils as well. I couldn't grow stink on a monkey. No, I can't say I have a garden. I can grow stink on a monkey, but it comes from that was my favorite line from the shopkeep. He's like, Simpson Farm, you can grow stink on a monkey. That was funny. But yeah, that was a long rant, but you get my point. I don't know if I satisfied your
Yeah, I think that's a good explanation. I just think they're LARPers, probably. We're just being realistic.
probably.
Short answer, they're LARPers, basically. However, let's
Of
look at some
course!
actual
Oh my
right-wing
God!
aesthetics.
Talk about LARPing. Talk about Cole.
Now, this is
All
the
right,
kind of LARPing I can get behind here.
Gio, can you throw it back on? Okay, so how does this appeal to you? I'm going to be your psychologist right now, your psychiatrist. How does this appeal to you? Why does this appeal to you?
I like throwing throwing our enemies, off helicopters. Is why.
I think. Well, the problem is that I think like Pinochet obviously was like a liberal stooge, but like that being said, like I don't know, I'm on the fence with Pinochet because then that would like play into like leftoid, like literal like camp bot, like they were funded by the CIA argument, but like I mean, yeah, he was funded by the CIA, but I don't know. Is that you had another one?
Oh yes, let's get to this one.
Oh my God! Original Soy Jacks, Coulson.
We got the whole gang here,
Yeah, I love how the schizo one, that comes from the original one came from who's that YouTuber? Talk about Cole. Who's that YouTuber? Markiplier. Yeah, I think that came.
Oh, the Crybaby? Yeah. Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, that came from.
Oh, the
him.
Hoppa Crybaby.
Yeah, then there's there's Coulson, there's Imp Jack. Yeah, there's so many genealogies here of soy faces.
Do you think this is the result of all the Sneed oils? What do you think is causing this?
Could be.
It's got to be more than the soy. It's got to be something more.
No, it's all the chemicals in the food and water. It's all the xenoestrogens in the food and water. It's the seed oils.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just but I feel like the proliferation of them, like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I do frequent. I don't know if I should admit this in public, but I do frequent Buru Soy because they if you can think of an idea, they probably have a Soy Jack edit of it. So there is I feel like the proliferation of the Soy Jack has been taken into like a form of art, but at the same time, everything that is once a gem could potentially become coal, and there's a lot of Soy Jacks that have become coal. So
I feel like
what did you want to ask me about this?
Because it makes fun of leftoids.
True. You know what's funny is that there's a tweet recently about the staring eagle, the eagle jack, where it's like that's fun. Like the one I retweeted it where the guy was like, "This is unironically funnier than like 90% of all leftist memes," where it's like the staring eagle. Ace, you know the staring eagle. Mr. Pachula, you know the staring eagle. See if we can bring it up. Soy to cool pipeline. No, but yeah. So the memes, but then again, I feel like the memes they can become an excuse for like intellectual laziness because they can just think for you in a weird way. Like you can anticipate the discourse on the E-Right by looking at the memes, by looking at the Soy Jackson, the Giga Chat edits. So favorite Groiper edit, Ace. I don't know. I really like Apustage, but at the same time, I do like the classic Groiper. I feel like the Groiper was always meant to become the manifestation of the E-Right in so many ways, because the Groiper, whether it's appropriated by certain factions in the E-Right or not, I feel like the Groiper has so many like attributes of the post 2016 online right wing. or what my good friend, who I hope he's doing well now. He left
Yeah,
the
All
internet.
Right 1.0. Yes, I remember.
Yeah,
that
like what
very
my
well.
friend Adam Wallace called the Chanternative right. So Geo Groiper 14. I can't wait for it. I think someone did make a Groiper edit of me, actually. But I think, like, yeah, even though Groipers have been appropriated by different forces within the E-Right, I do feel like the Groiper was, like, of course the classic Peppy started it all, but the Groiper was the one that really brought a coherence to what the E-Right really stood for. And it was just dissimilar enough from the earlier manifestations of Pepe, which wasn't explicitly coded as right wing. But the Groiper is right wing. Like you can't deny it. Who is the king of the
I don't think
Groiper?
anybody would.
Who's the king of the Groipers? John Winthrop. That's who's the king of the Groipers. Anyways, or Nick Fuentes Groiper. Do you remember Nick Fuentes Groiper?
I don't think so.
He was a good post. Not like I'm not talking about Nick. I'm talking about the Nick Fuentes Groiper. He was a good poster. Atrazine Groiper. So many of them. Remember
I
that
tell the
Groiper?
story a lot, but like I got radicalized fairly on in the original right with white identity politics
Oh
and
my
like the
God.
original scene.
However,
However,
about goal.
yes.
Were you
with that
listening to
movement.
Jonathan Bowden interviews of Richard with Big Spence?
No, I watched Charlottesville live.
Oh, I did too, but like I think what was I doing that day? I remember watching. I'm like, what the hell is going on? But no, I mean, the king of the Groipers is obviously John Winthrop, obviously. But no, I mean, how are you? Like, who was the guy that you watched the most? Did you have your favorites?
Yeah, my favorites out of that sphere originally were Dave, even though I found him a little bit later.
Yeah.
And probably I would say Vincent James, if you remember who that was.
Oh my God, really?
Yes, he really woke me up to the white identitarian stuff, demographics, and I just kind of took it from there.
Does now?
Yes, he is. Before that, he ran a big YouTube channel. Before
that's right.
YouTube became gay.
He got nuked off YouTube, right?
Yeah, a bunch of people did. You got Alex Jones.
I remember Alex Jones was nuked off of Twitter.
Yes, all in one day. I remember the whole crowd who was originally on YouTube. Many faces who people don't remember now, but you had some classics on there. You had like your own Benjamin types. You had your conspiracies. You had your what was that guy's name again? Mouthy Buddha. You had a couple of these other
Mouthy
guys.
Buddha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Black Pill, Devin Stacks.
They were more the conspiracy side, but then Devin Stack, he came back to Twitter. His account was
No, but it was a fun time, and that was the best year to get radicalized before YouTube took everything down into like 2018. I
love how you say it with joy, though. Like that was the best year to get radical. Like this is an example of the Zoomer mind melted by like totally brain fucked by all right memes. I'm kidding. Yeah,
no, but I realized that Spencer's movement was retarded fairly early on after the Charlottesville fiasco. So I'm glad I never fell into his movement at all.
Yeah, I was more of the Twitter writers. I was more of the intellectual, the fart huffing bloggers. But I did listen. I did watch a lot of the YouTube. I've been watching Alex Jones for so many years. Then he got clipped off of YouTube. But yeah, Ziz Hunter. Yeah, Atrazine is my boy, man. I love Atrazine Groiper. I mean, I think he came back as some other account recently. He always comes back as different accounts. But who else you into, Ziz? Are you into Smeedy, Lord Miku? Who else you into out of that certain forum? I mean, some of those guys like me. I don't know. Some of those guys probably don't like me, because I talk about them. But
it is a complicated section of the right who's very controversial, just like BAP is.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
I think the BAP stuff is probably a little bit more retarded. But
I don't like speaking on drama in public. I mean, I don't want.
So I'm not going to get into that here, but
I mean, it is fun. Watching from the sidelines, it is. No, here's the thing. I have to say this, Ace. I was never I was never on Radix for anything. Like, I've never been like, I think people confuse it because I'm friends with Tyler Hamilton, but Tyler Hamilton has not been a part of Radix for a long time now. And I've never done anything on Radix. I don't know like why like people would say that. Like, it's just, I've never done anything on Radix. Not that I ever will. I'm not, put it this way, I'm not a huge fan of big spends. But
All right, I gotta ask you this question as an
yeah.
American. So why is Canada so gay? And you could
Oh,
explain
that's
that in
a
a long answer, but why is it so gay?
oh
What
man,
happened to
this
you
is
guys? I mean, you used
Trudeau
to have
Senior
like,
happened.
of course, but
Americanization
like,
happened.
I want
No,
people to realize this though. Like,
yeah,
the men of
Canada
Canada
always
used to be the most masculine. Some of the most
we did. No,
masculine of the
yeah,
British
yeah.
Empire. Like, people don't realize this though. Like, they
We had the
had some of the
fourth
best
largest army in the
soldiers.
world after World War II. You know,
They were
did
some
you
of the
know
most
that?
sought after men.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
what I mean. Canada was a largely rural, like ruralite, agrarian people that were tough as nails. Like, why do you think there was fighting in hockey? Right? Like, I mean, it really comes back to that in my mind. By the way, the Leafs totally decimated the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I knew that was going to happen. Of course, I have to hold my tongue because they're probably going to get BTFO'd on Thursday against the Bruins. But no, I mean, no, so anyways, yeah, Canada used to be a land of very tough people, but I think that Canada always had an uncertainty about its own identity just by virtue of the Anglophone Francophone split. And also later on, there was a huge bunch of people from the Blue Yellow Country. People don't know this, but the Blue Yellow Country has the largest diaspora of people in Canada outside of Nouveau Russia. Oh, sorry, I mean Ukraine. I can't say that. Sorry, Ukraine, not Nouveau
Outside
Russia.
of Russia proper, yes.
greater Nouveau Russia. No, I'm kidding. Like, a lot of people that come from Western Ukraine immigrated to Canada. So a lot of people, I think, that were more of the Russian phenotype stayed in the area in the east, but a lot of them that are more like Ukrainian proper came here way back in the day. And then of course you had like people from all over the Commonwealth. For example, when they built the canal in Niagara, the Welland Canal, they like the way it worked was the British were the ones that had the direct contract. They were the administrators. They were the higher ups. They were the ones that administered everything. The Scottish were the engineers. For some reason, the Scottish were very good managerial people. They're very good middlemen. And then, of course, who was doing this, the bottom labor, the actual labor was Irish and Italians and Chinese people. So, like, my great great grandfather helped build the Welland Canal. So, there you go. Anyways, the reason Canada is like that because we always had that inherent like instability with their identity, but also after the 50s, when American like liberalization of the world was in full force, Canada really didn't have a natural immune system because Canadians were basically meant as like a small, tiny agrarian people. And that was purposely engineered by the British, by the way, to do that as Canadian loyalists. But then what happened was when the British Empire receded, largely because of America, and then America basically culturally colonized its largest neighbor on the north, Canada didn't really have any choice but to adopt like the worst excesses of like American liberal and then later neoliberalism. And so the reason that Canada was that is also because at this time, Canada became a huge urbanized population for different reasons. And, if you go like outside of the big like multicultural cities, you'll still find like quote unquote heritage stock, like Anglophone, Francophone Canadians. And you'll find like a lot of European immigrants, such as, my people that came here after, in the interwar period. So there's a variety of reasons why Canada is like so like terminally libtarded, but also Canadians, you have to realize that Canada, like they don't have the same mythology as America in terms of like the Turner thesis, in terms of like the frontier. Because there's this great analogy. There was this historian that wrote about the gold rush in Saskatchewan that wrote about how in America, it's like the Turner thesis, like the outlaw is like conquering the wilderness. But then then like Johnny Law comes and like colonizes everything, right? And creates order out of the chaos of the American frontier. But there's always like this romanticism around the American frontier. Canada did not have this. Canada had the reverse of that. The order came to the wilderness. Then the settler and the cowboy adjusted to that order. So the gold rush was a perfect example. The gold rush in BC and in Saskatchewan and rural parts of Ontario, they were administered by the RCMP, the Mounties, when they had like the actual like traditional uniform that everyone knows. They had to regulate what the gold miners took in terms of provisions, in terms of their equipment that they were being bought from the British, the Hudson Bay Company, or the British North American Company. So they were like, basically order came to Canada, to the frontier, before this sort of like American romantic frontier lawlessness took hold. So that really does explain the attitude between Canadians, because Canadians were very like rough and very like rugged people, but they also had this sense of like deference towards authority that made them survive in the wilderness. Whereas America always had this like rugged gunslinger cowboy mythology that like is basically follows America wherever it goes, up until the recent age. Like up until like, from John Wayne to Arnold Schwarzenegger to John Wick. It's like the same thing, Wow, man,
Yeah,
that's
I feel like that
helpful.
is a big difference. Is that America was founded by people who wanted religious freedom from monarchy,
Yeah, exactly.
and like you were just founded by like a fur colony, basically. In short, but we do have a special guest who's hopping on late.
Oh boy.
Mr. Ace.
Hey, hey guys.
But Gio, I do have to ask you this question: do you
Oh.
think Canada was doomed to like be consumed by the black hole that is America? It was
No,
doomed inevitably.
Canada had a choice, but it was an impossible choice in the 60s. Just what George Grant said. After the late 50s, early 60s, Canada had a choice to become a more of like a high Tory civilization that looked at things from the small view, to quote Marshall McLuhan. But also, Canada, by definition, could not make its choice because of America, because of the influence of America. And they knew the way the wind was blowing. So in some ways, this is why George Grant wrote his book, Lament for a Nation. It's a lament. It's not meant to be like there was a decision. There was a decision that was made for us by powers outside of our control. And then by the time Trudeau Sr., the stepfather, by the time the stepfather came about, it was all over. It was all over now. So there you go.
That's sad.
It is sad. But hey, I mean, there could be a reawakening of a particular form of Canadian spirit that could, and
Well, I feel like the Quebecois tried to like have their identity preserved, but then they got subverted, and like I mean, they literally shipped in immigrants to subvert the referendum, and they literally admitted that. Using immigrants as weapons.
That's what who said it during the Quebec the referendum? Who said it? Was it Parizeau? Money in the ethnic vote. Money in the ethnic. He meant like stalking Anglophone. Yeah, Jacques Parizeau. He didn't mean like immigrants. He meant like Anglophone people that came up to Quebec that basically was there to like pad the election. So Quebec wouldn't secede. So that's what he meant by Jacques Parizeau, by money in the ethnic vote. He was unironically correct though. I mean, yeah. Nowadays, when it comes to Trudeau Jr., I mean, it is money in the ethnic vote. So anyways, Ace, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, pretty good, man. Good to hear from you guys.
Ace, though, we gotta ask you this question, man.
Yes.
I know the situation with Zoomers is very bad, but you're more experienced with metal, so like, tell me the situation. Like, how many Zoomers are actually listening to metal? Gio wants to know, so give us the stats.
I have limited experience and resources, but just from what I can guesstimate, it does look like we have lost the heavy metal demographic. We've lost the rock demographic in a meaningful sense. So I'm going to have to agree with a lot of the pessimists who say that rock is dead. I'm even going to go as far with citing Obese Goth and saying that movies are dead too.
Oh yeah, that's true.
All the classic American media, that culture is also slipping. So very disappointing. The Zoomers, they can't even go to a theater. I don't know what the obstacle is there. I guess because of Netflix. That's probably the big albatross. But yeah, this is really blackpilling. Gonna have to go on Team Millennial on this one because at least these guys leave the house, but not so much the Zoomers.
I rarely leave the house, but I understand. It's, but that's because of my job. Yeah, Zoomers don't go to theaters anymore, Ace? Do they not go with their friends?
I don't think so. I think they go to Marvel movies, of course, but yeah, I think
they'll go for the gray cultural slob. Yes.
Right. Probably not even like things like Barbie and Oppenheimer. It's probably not going to look good from the Zoomer demographic, which is disappointing. But who knows? Maybe.
Oh my God.
I don't know why though. Like it's pretty easy, lazy media. I don't know why this one would be too much.
Well, I mean, Ace, have you seen that statistic where like 40% of Zoomers don't even drive?
No,
they don't even drive. Like it's almost unbelievable. Like people don't even realize this. Like
I'd like to see the gender disparity with that statistic.
I wonder.
That's just like a general.
I should look into that more, but
there are guys that probably don't drive that are Zoomers.
Oh, definitely, 100%. I know. Yeah, 100%.
Interesting, man. Well, GIO, I wanted to ask you something.
Yeah.
Because you're a man of aesthetics, and I was arguing with some Orthodox Christians about this, so maybe I need to consult Prudentialist for the take.
Yeah.
But what is the thing? Okay, because you and me, we're Catholic, but I've been hearing some critiques about, our art, even like the Sistine Chapel is very.
Oh, okay. I think I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, how do we? Would it be appropriate to hypothetically synthesize the pagan Roman aesthetic with the Catholic faith? Because I know we adopted the pagan roots, but I've heard from Ortho Bros that we're supposed to do away with that. We don't need it anymore. But our whole perception of Western beauty is influenced by that. So I don't know what to do. Like, what's the stance?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I feel like you can't really get rid of it because you have to look at the nature of Catholic art in the High Renaissance was largely Hellenized. There was sort of like a reawakening of these more like quote unquote pagan art styles and aesthetics. And I feel like you can't really would there be Titian without the Greeks? Would there be Raphael without the Greeks and Romans? I don't think there would be. I think that I understand where I understand like where the Ortho Bros are coming from, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong to admit that Orthodox people and Catholics have a different aesthetic sensibility. And I think that there is like a legitimate critique of like going way too far into like the pagan thing. But at the same time, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, the Catholic Church in its history does share those roots with both Jerusalem and Athens. And I feel like to only like overplay one or the other is sort of a mistake. I mean, this is what John Paul says, for example. Not John Paul. This is what Benedict said in his book on his various writings on this, that people are too easy to throw out the Athenian, the Hellenic influence, the Grecian Roman influence on the Catholic Church, and for various like political or aesthetic reasons, they'll only say that that only like Catholicism's a product of Jerusalem. So, I mean, it's a tough question, but I think that there's inevitably going to be conflict between the artistic and aesthetic sensibilities of Orthodox people and Catholics. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Like one of the big concerns was the nudity, which
Oh,
I think,
yeah, that argument.
and honestly, like I'd be willing to surrender that one in exchange for like, because they make it sound like if like any art where it's like the person's not in the middle, or there's like all these pagan conceptions of God that are influencing our perceptions of God. I understand that's like
Or
fair
it's too
game.
humanistic, yeah.
Right, right. But then again, it's like seems like the entire Renaissance and Romanticism is coming from that humanist
Yeah.
camp. So it's hard to be like, well, if you like the art, it seems like you're kind of doing the enemy's bidding. But I don't know. I feel like there is a way to synthesize. Obviously you can reduce the like Zeus inspired conceptions, but you could also like use the color schemes. And I don't even know if that's like a big deal. But
Well, there's mannerism, there's the Spanish Baroque, there's like Zobran, there's there's El Greco. I mean, they took a lot of influences from iconography, but at the same time, I mean, the nudity question is something I did a video on, and I feel like there was always going to be the conflict, but at the same time, I am convinced by the argument that there is a perfection within the human form that is within the Imago Dei, and that there is a way to depict the nude that is not has an eroticism, but not like a vulgarized eroticism. And I feel like Kenneth Clark has his book on the nude where he talks about this that I cited. And so I feel like there is a way to approach the subject matter that isn't like as gratuitous. Like I hate to say it, even like by the time you get to like Peter Paul Rubens, yeah, a lot of it was fetishistic. Not gonna lie. I think the video was called "The Nude in Art" on my channel, Giant Productions. I think it was something like that. If you search my channel, search up nude, you'll find it. But no, I mean,
interesting search history there.
but no, I understand like where the ortho bros get. I understand where the Orthodox. I shouldn't call them ortho bros. The Orthodox people understand like their skittishness towards it, but at the same time, I think that there ultimately will be culture. I think like the subtext that we're not talking about when we have these debates online is like the huge cultural differences between an Eastern Orthodox person that actually comes from Eastern Europe and someone that comes from Italy. Like a lot of the Venetian artists, I mean, they had like a typical Italian, like I feel guilty for being horny all the time, but I can't help myself. It's like that sort of Italian lustfulness that really permeates everything. So the Mediterraneans, we can't help it. We can't help but look at.
I think I would agree with the Orthodox people on the nudity question, but I was curious because I know E. Michael Jones's newest book talks about beauty and like the different changes it's had. So it's kind of convenient how he's on that trip right now. And it sounded like he was more so wanting to return to Italian art as the safe, they had their own Renaissance, but this whole like European romanticism, that's where you get into all this anti-religious humanism and all these ambiguous art expressions that are not just secular, but like, very seductive in very bad ways. So,
I think the Baroque is kitsch, but I mean, there like it's I would agree in part. I think he goes a bit too far, but I think like certain romanticists did it better. Like obviously Rossetti did a lot better than Watteau, than Fragonard, where it's like you see the dude like peering, and like the guy, the voluptuous woman is on the what you call it, the swing in the forest, and like the guy is in the bushes peering up at her crotch. Like, yeah, I understand that. Like, that's totally vulgar. Like that like as much as I feel that Fragonard is a great artist in terms of the way that he would simplify the landscape and so forth. Yeah, let's face it. There was a British lord that I think bought a Bouguereau painting and said that even an old codger such as myself could be attracted to one of those young, voluptuous Bouguereau women. So yeah. So there you go. But I mean, yeah, What is this new book called? I have to buy it actually.
I don't know if it's called this, but on YouTube, I think if you search the danger rather of beauty,
Okay.
basically goes through like, sounds like beginning to end, like summary wise with this interviewer. And he goes all the way to like Hegel, Napoleon, and Beethoven basically create individualist expression, which is how we get to modernism.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's strange. It's strange because, we're living in modernity, but how do we have this expression that has not been tainted by paganism or humanist? It's just, I feel like we have such not as many resources compared to the Renaissance era or
Right.
some of the pre-Christian Romans. So, yeah, it's a difficult question.
Well, a lot of like similar themes were also carried on from the Renaissance up until modernism. For example, I talked about this in my latest review of John David Ebert's Art After Metaphysics. I talk about the concept. I was talking about the Joseph Beuys piece about the concept of death and the maiden. How there's always like a depiction of a young, fertile age woman with a skeleton, or with a representative of death, or with an old man. There's always like that that theme that comes from the Renaissance, like the very early Renaissance, even the Flemish, up until like the Nordic modernists, like people like Edvard Munch. There's always like he like obsessively painted women dancing with skeletons or women next to like old men. And there's always that like common theme there. And I don't know, like I have to like listen to it. I can almost, not that I can predict E. Michael Jones's take. I just know that I would probably disagree with some of his takes on modernism, but I definitely will look at that.
I feel like the big schism here comes from the fact of the two churches' different art styles. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's a very surface level argument, but the Italian, like Western European style of artwork and icons, and the Greek and Eastern European style of art,
Yeah.
in terms of like setting the standards and like bounds for what's acceptable for depicting sacred things and like high ideas, and like what's the better one basically, and it kind of devolves into that fight. But I feel like both have their merits, honestly. I don't think it's it's kind of your preference, but I like both of them.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. But
Is John David Ebert like what's his end game? I don't actually know I know he went on Joel Davis's show, so I don't like, what is his background?
well, he was a very prolific popularizer of a lot of niche continental philosophy outside of academia for many years, and
Third
a lot of
positionist sphere, as far as I could tell.
so, in recent years, but he was never like explicitly right wing until like after 2016. But I think like I think he has some sympathies to third position stuff. Like I know he's done a bunch of like very eye opening interviews with Dukan, but um he'll go on anything, man. I don't think he's like a white nationalist or anything. But he yeah.
I was checking out his because I'm going through Polya's stuff. I was also gonna.
Don't go through his tweets, bro. Don't.
Oh, okay. No. He was reviewing. He's reviewing Polya's book, and
Yeah.
he said like
Sexual personae.
Yeah. He said like he wouldn't really consider himself like right wing by any sense, but he's willing to like check out the canon,
Yeah.
like Spengler, etc. So it seemed like he kind of like said it right there. But I've been going through his videos recently, and yeah, he just seems like a guy who's like genuinely curious, like that boomer voyeurism. He just wants to like investigate.
Oh
but
yeah, definitely.
Not really partisan.
Well, also like he's had a number of red pills with women and so forth. So
That's a very common path today, especially because we established earlier with Zoomer women being in such terrible shape. It's not surprising most men go down the path of first they discover the red pill stuff with women, and then they come
like,
down.
Yeah, a word of caution. Like that's what I mean about like his certain tweets. it's you have to realize the context of what happened with his ex, and I don't.
Oh no.
He has a pretty he's had a lot of troubles with a lot of women. Put it this way, a lot of women have done him a lot of wrong in his life.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean,
Well,
but, what are you gonna say?
I was just gonna. You can continue. I was gonna ask about Polia. What your take is?
Yeah.
Well, what are your thoughts? Because I've been reading her recently, and so I'm kind of on this trip.
What should I say about Polia? That's sort of a very open, and I mean, I do enjoy her work quite a bit. I think Sexual Persona is a monumental work, but
Let's go.
yeah, but I mean,
Not endorsement, of course.
Yeah, I think Polia does have a lot of boomer rad femme tendencies that probably aren't very good.
Rad.
Well, I mean, she has sussy baka takes, but
yeah,
No,
fair enough. Yeah. No, I'm curious what Bab says about her because I haven't watched his show in a long time or listened to it, so I don't know.
Well, Bab is pretty pro Poglia, but I forget which episode he explicitly talked about Poglia, but I think he also has some critiques of her when it comes to Sexual Persona because she takes up the Greeks in certain ways that Bap disagrees with. I mean, I'd have to get into the specifics. I have to re-listen, but I feel like perhaps Polia is too wedded to dichotomous thinking in Sexual Persona when it comes to the Greeks between the Apollonian and the Dionysian. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, also, like I said, there's also a lot of sussy Bakate shit that she has that I don't co-sign.
Right. Same. Disavow, but
disavow. But
I think what I really like is that it's it's like the Young Chul like the non-political way of talking about politics. Relating it to modernity and popular culture, and so it's a lot easier to talk about a book like Sexual Persona than Decline of the West or something. So maybe it's the first date dissident book for your top Zoomer Sadie. Maybe that's the pitch.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go.
That's an interesting suggestion, actually. I wonder if that's a good strategy.
True.
Yeah.
First you start her with that, then you get her to Decline of the West, and then you get her to read Carl Schmitz at the political.
Oh man.
Oh man. But it's been almost 2 hours, so I think I gotta go. It's 10 here, so.
All right, GIO, it was great having you on, and we definitely have to get you a girlfriend at some point. But
I know.
Is there anything you'd like to show as we close out the stream, Mr. GIO? It was a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, man, this has been great. Tomorrow isn't going to be content minded because I'm still in the process of recording. It's going to be a solo variety mega show again. I have a Q&A that I do with my patrons. On Thursday, of course, it's the Digital Archipelago, but it's going to be on Prude's channel. So keep up for that. It's going to be great. So yeah, there you go.
All right, Ace, is there anything you'd like to show as we close out the stream today? I know you hopped on late.
Sorry about that. Thank you for the invites. Thank you, AP and GIO, of course. Love you guys. My show is a bit on hiatus right now. I'm on Twitter at Ace Writer AC. I just got a new article out today on the Federalist about Lana Del Rey. So
that was you?
That was me, yes.
Whoa. I thought you just shared it. I didn't know it was yours.
But yeah, so we are red pilling Zoomer Top Sadies by reinvigorating European romanticism through dream pop singers. So that is the pitch. And we're so back.
Man.
All right. Well, as you know, my stream with Thomas did unfortunately get delayed, but it is happening this weekend, and me and Mr. Thomas will be discussing the Chicago accent, some Chicago history with him. So look forward to that later in the week with my channel. But other than that, if you enjoyed the stream, please like and subscribe. It's always greatly appreciated. And remember, everyone, the light can't last forever. Keep your hopes up. Good night, everyone.